you, it feels like the good old days to see this game back on the screen, right? I reinstalled the game because I felt like making a few videos, because all the talk about MK12 maybe being a MK trilogy style game in the Mortal Kombat 11 engine had me really thinking about if they were going to give that type of game another go around, right? What would I want them to do to improve the game, right? I'm not going to sit here and shit on NRS. I'm going to try to be more constructive. So, one of the first things I want to talk about is if they were going to try this style of gameplay again, I would want to see this game shift over to being more of what I would call a system-based fighter. And what that means is that character-specific knowledge is less important than like the fundamentals of the game, although character-specific knowledge wouldn't matter. And what do I mean by that? So, I basically think that in general, the basics of every character should be the same. So what do I mean when I say that? So, I've been thinking about this for a while. Obviously, I think all flawless block attacks should be the same. They should all have same startup, same damages, etc. Same hit advantage, whatever. Of course, I've said before, I would make every up 2 and up 3 the same startup speed, same hit advantage, and same block advantage, right? Another example that I've been thinking about recently would be an idea that would kind of, in some kind of a way, call back to the old style of MK game. And that is that I think the concept of the 1, 2, 3, and 4 buttons should be reworked. So what do I mean by this? So, first of all, and this would be a controversial change for some people, I think the jabs should never lead to full combos. As a matter of fact, I think that there should be no such thing as a special cancelable 1 jab string. So, if it were my call, Scorpion would only be able to do this. Ever. This would be the only thing he would be able to do. The same principle would apply to Sub-Zero. All he would be able to do is 1, 2, 4. That's it. Now, you could give them, like, great frame data on staggering that for pressure options and stuff like that, but I do not believe in the idea of combos off the basic jab in this game. I think that would balance out the power of things a lot, because there are some characters in this game, man, they're literally defined by the fact that they do shit tons of damage off their jabs, and all their other buttons are inferior, and it just kind of leads to this weird balance dynamic that I think seems wonky. So, personally, I would do away with that. I would get rid of jab strings that lead to full combos, 1 jab strings, right? The second thing I would do, so this is the thing that I kind of flirted with the idea of before, but I want to reiterate it. I think instead of 1, 2, 3, and 4 corresponding to your limbs, although they can still do that if NRS wants to do that, I think this needs to be a light and heavy punch and kick button, which is kind of reminiscent of old MK games. So I think that 1 and 3 should be fast and high. And I think 2 and 4 should be slower and mid. So what this also means, of course, by the way, is that this would also translate in a Street Fighter-esque sense also into bigger reward, right? So if I were to design the game the way I wanted, Scorpion would only be able to do 1, 1, 2 off jab, but if he did stand 3, then he'd get a combo if he wanted to do that. He could do that if he wanted to. I think that's like pretty fair, honestly. I don't see a problem with that, right? I think that that's reasonable. And then I would make, as I said, stand 2 and stand 4 would be mids. And these would be like your big dick punishes, your down 3 or down 1 on hit check buttons, and they would lead to like better benefits because they would be slower, right? So, like for example, Scorpion's 1 could stay 7 frames, and Scorpion's stand 3 would be like 9 frames, right? But then I would make like stand 2 10 to 11 frames, and then stand 4 like 13, right? And these two would be mids, right? I think that is a good idea that would improve the game as a whole to play it that way. I think it would do a lot for the game in general to get rid of full combos off jabs, because that would make these like staggers that characters do all the time when they're doing like this, it would not be as like scary, and it wouldn't be as snowbally as it tends to be in this game when characters can do shit like that. I don't know what you guys think about that. I would actually be really curious what you would think about that. So, like, that's just an example of a thing I would like to see. So, high 1s and 3s, mid 2s and 4s, and no full combo 1 jab strings. I think that would be pretty huge, honestly. I would also say, and this is another thing where people might heavily disagree with me, I honestly think one of the ways that you can make MK more interesting is to take away options in terms of special canceling and encourage more use of strings in like a more piecemeal fashion. So an example of this is, I'm gonna be blunt here, right? The only way to get a full combo in my universe with Scorpion, it would be 2-1 or stand 4. If you wanted to do any directional input string, all you can do is this. All you can do is this. All you can do is this. And all you can do is this. And then you would be able to add more mind games around like the flawless block gaps in certain strings, or you would be able to make things like crushing blows a little more interesting. That's one thing I would do. I would reduce the amount of full combos that are available to characters in this game. And if they really wanted to make it this heavy fundies based game, with the way movement works and with all the OSs involved, I think making it a low damage game, except in certain big opportunities, would be ideal. And that would also open up, by the way, it would open up more of a chance to get people to spend meter on things besides breakaway, because there would be more knockdowns happening, right? So there would be more knockdown pressure happening, which would mean that there would be more meter on average being spent in a match, instead of you saving it for breakaway, because eventually you would have to stop, right? I know those are crackheaded ideas, but I think they could make the game better. But you guys can let me know what you think. So we're going to move on to the next thing I want to talk about. So the next thing I want to talk about is I want to revisit crushing blows. I'm not going to say anything new that I never said before, but I'm going to say it again. Crushing blows should not only be practical, easily accessible, make sense for the character using them, they should trigger every single time you fulfill the requirement. It is not conducive to a competitive environment to have a tool like this be only usable once per game. Things like this being usable only once per game are nuts. Like, I'm Scorpion, I made the read in neutral, and I hit you with this, I should get it every time I do it. I seriously believe this. Now, of course, you would have to rework the crushing blows and what they do, because obviously it would be also kind of a problem if all of a sudden Scorpion is just always able to do, like, this. See, yeah. It would be a problem, of course, if Scorpion could just always do that to you, right? It put you in this situation. That would be a bit of a problem. So you would have to make, like, 2-1-2 more conditional or something. But, like, 4-3-4 working every time, to me, would be absolutely fair. That would be fair to me. This is also fits into my motif about full combos for, in my Scorpion example, being only possible off 2-1 and stand 4. And the reason I say that is because this would be his, like, biggest combo starter, right? His biggest damage one. But it's only possible if he makes that crushing blow read, correct? So, yeah. So, like, even if I get a jump in with my stand 4, I'm still not doing as much as this every time I get the hit. You get the idea. I personally think that's fair. But like I said, you would have to really rework these crushing blows. But it would be the same thing for, like, Spear, right? So Scorpion has this crushing blow for Spear. If he hits it at maximum range, it's not really maximum range though. I think it even works from here, which is not maximum for sure. Let's see if I'm right. Yeah. So, like, even this would be more fair if it worked every time. And then what this would do is, like, he could punish certain moves 100% of the time like this. Because it would hit from max distance. So, that's one of the things that annoys me. Crushing blows are not built as outplay tools. They're built as, like, volatile, explosive, table turning options. If these were consistently, reliably usable intentionally in a match, but with every character, it would make the game a lot better at the highest level of play. And it would also enforce a lot of respect where there currently is none in the way the game currently plays. So yeah, that's my take on crushing blows. I think they should be all practical for what the characters do. I think that they should work every time that you fulfill them. And yeah, you get the idea. Alright, another thing that has always bugged me about NRS games is while they are here in the form of crushing blows for some characters, which I already went over the problem with crushing blows as they work right now, I dislike the lack of counter hits that do extra damage in NRS games. I would really like if I hit somebody for mashing, so like if I do down 3 and I do 2-1, I want like 25% extra damage for the ensuing combo or string. 25% extra damage I would like to see. I think that would do a lot for discouraging a lot of the maniac behavior in this game. Also, on that note, a lot of people are not going to like this. I think if you get hit while jumping, I think that should count as a counter hit and also give you 25% bonus damage. I think that would be huge. If you took bonus damage for getting hit in a jump, I think that would be big. I mean, that would bump that up to almost 300 damage right there, just because I air-to-aired somebody for jumping. I think that would be huge. That's one thing I really want to see. I want to see counter hits that do extra damage that kind of thing discourages a lot of the gameplay that people hate in these games. Like, if they're terrified that they're going to lose half health because they mashed, then they're never going to mash again, right? Unless they're maniacs or they want to make a really hard, educated read. I think that would make the game better, much better, if they tried this gameplay system again. But yeah, that's just my take. So, another thing that I kind of talked about in the videos I used to make about this game is we hate the variation system, right? Especially the custom variation system, which I think a lot of people agreed kind of ruined this game, right? I think the variation system can stay. I'm not convinced it's a failure, but I think the real solution is less variations with more options. So I'm once again using Scorpion as an example here. So what I would do, I would make one variation that's totally weapon based. So Death Spin, Death Spear combo, and Sin Blade and Misery Blade all on the same character, right? And then the other variation would have Hellport Cancel, Air Demon Slam, Demon Dash, Demon Breath, and Hellflame, right? So you would have one zoning kind of keep out variation, and then one variation that was more oriented around being aggressive and chipping out, right? And I guess you could give that said weapon variation like the Burning Spear too. So like one variation would have all 5 of these on at the same time, and then one variation would have this, 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 and this. So 5 moves each in Scorpion's case, right? Another character I can look at as an example of this is Sub. So with Sub, here's what I would do for Sub. You give him one variation that has Creeping Ice and Ground Ice and Cold Shoulder and Frigid Storm and Deathsicle Barrage and the Polar and the Arctic Trap. Okay. Then the other variation would have Deep Freeze, the Air Axe, the Rising Ice. You get the idea. Sorry, my cat just won't stop freaking out here. So, one variation, we have Creeping Ice, Ground Ice, Arctic Trap, Deathsicle Barrage. Another variation would have Meteorburn Ice Ball, the Air Axe, and Rising Ice, and Cold Shoulder. Once again, 2 different play styles, and completely loaded out with all the options they can need, right? Another character that would benefit from this would be Noob Saibot. So, once again, let's look at this, right? So you have an all zoning variation that has Spear Ball, has Shadow Slide, Shadow Strike, Air Shadow Dive, right? An all shadows variation with the better Fireball, right? And then you can have another one that had Ghost Ball, Sickle Snag, Air Telly Slam, Shadow Portals, and Sickle Toss and Air Sickle Port, right? Well, rather, yeah, it just have a different, like a zoning variation of Air Shadow Dive, Shadow Strike, Shadow Slide, Sickle Toss, and Spear Ball. And then the other one we use Ghost Ball, Sickle Snag, Air Telly Slam, and Shadow Portals. And Air Sickle Port. Like, you get the idea, right? One zone footsie's combo character. I mean, what's another character I can talk about this with? I mean, there's lots of this. Okay, Nightwolf. Nightwolf is an easy one. So, Nightwolf could have a variation that has the launcher, the command grab, the additional strings, and then all 3 of the animal buffs. Right? All 3 of the animal buffs. Then the other variation would be a zoning variation that has the roll, lunar orbit, and moonfall, and lightning arrow, and moonlight reflector, and ancestral light. So I think this game would benefit from characters that were more front-loaded and then hard-locked instead of a custom variation system. I think the custom variation system was the worst aspect of this game as far as character balance. It certainly ruined any potential the game had to be interesting. I mean, we saw what happened as soon as that happened, right? So yeah, that's my take on that. Alright, this back end of this video is just going to be some miscellaneous things that I want to talk about that I would like to see go away if an MK12 happens and it uses this same engine. First of all, I think everyone would agree we want meter that you have to earn back. I don't think that anyone likes the regenerating meter. It certainly reduces the strategic elements of the game. It takes away like the skill cap of being smart, right? There's no element of intelligently using your meter in this game because you can always count on it coming back. Another thing that is always in NRS games, I do not know why it is dot damage really should not kill at all. If it's like a cloud or a puddle on the floor or something like that, there should be no such thing as a passive damage source killing you in a fighting game. That should just not be happening. Same kind of goes for chip. I'm fine with chip damage in this game, but you should not be able to kill somebody by chipping them out, in my opinion. You should have to strike or throw them or hit them. Once again, I know that's like controversial to some people, but that both nerfs zoning and once again, it makes people have to think more when they're trying to open you up to get that last hit. It requires them to have to think more. Another thing that I think we can all agree on is that I don't know what to do about the fatal blows. They're so baked into the game. I hate the concept of them because it's literally being rewarded for being a loser. Yeah, I mean, it really is. All I can say is they need a more significant cost. I still go back to my harshest iteration of the cost that I thought of, which is that you have to be at 10% health, not 30, and it costs all 4 bars to use. And if it gets blocked or it whiffs, you lose it forever. I mean, a mechanic like that, it has to be super costly and risky. It's too generous the way it's currently implemented in this game. I just think that's crazy. And then the final thing I would have to say is flawless blocking. Obviously, the ability to do it out of hit stun has got to go. That is rewarding people for losing. If someone is in hit stun and you try to pressure them because the hit stun you earned and you get lost for it, they got rewarded for losing. They put themselves in a bad position and they turn it around on you. That's just, it's anti-competitive, in my opinion. That's like an anti-competitive thing to have in a fighting game. You should never be able to take a frame advantage where you're jailed, where you made the mistake and got hit, and turn it into, Oki and pressure and momentum. That's insane. So yeah, that's just my video I wanted to make. I just wanted to share some thoughts about if they were to ever make MK12, if it is an MK trilogy style game in this engine, how would I want it to be handled? And that's my take. I'll see you guys later.